Biologists say there are increased numbers of one of the world's rarest fishes. Right now, the Devil's Hole pupfish spring population is at a 25-year high.
Devil's Hole, a mysterious and legendary underwater feature, has fascinated people for centuries. This deep, cold water spring, located in the lake that gave it its creepy name, is both a source of local folklore and a significant challenge for divers and researchers. From indigenous stories of tragic love to modern technological expeditions, Devil's Hole holds secrets that continue to captivate explorers. What secrets might be buried in its depths? And why does this place hold such importance for both scientists and local folklore? Join us as we explore how an underwater drone entered Devil's Hole and what was captured terrifies the whole world. The mysterious Devil's Hole, a hidden underwater wonder. The Devil's Hole, part of Death Valley National Park, is surrounded by the Ash Meadows National Wildlife Refuge in an isolated section. At the surface, it's simply deceptive. A small, crystal-clear pool, then, it descends into a cavern system that goes further down beneath the earth. The temperature of the pool stays constantly at 91 degrees Fahrenheit, and the water houses one of the world's rarest fish species, the endangered Devil's Hole pupfish. The tiny tuna-looking fishes, reaching only about an inch long, are the only species that naturally live in this environment, and scientists closely monitor their survival. At the surface of the Devil's Hole, it may seem calm, but what lies beneath has captivated scientists, explorers, and even the government. The exact depth of the cave still remains a mystery. The farthest any diver has descended is approximately 436 feet. Yet even at that depth, the bottom remains unseen. What's known is that the cave system branches into multiple chambers, one of which, a Cree's Chasm, is believed to extend down at least 1,247 feet. In the past, explorers attempted to create a map of the cave, but each dive, attempt, and exploration brought back even more questions than answers. Dive explorations in this area have been extremely dangerous as a result of the strong underwater currents, the narrowness of the tunnels, and the incredible depth of the cave. In 1965, two young divers tragically lost their lives while they were attempting to dive into the cave, and the bodies were never recovered. It was only until later explorations that it was discovered that the strong underwater current and unexplored areas only made it nearly impossible to retrieve them, adding even more layers of eerie mystery to this already chilling sight. One aspect of this cave that still puzzles scientists and observers to date is how the Devil's Hole reacts to earthquakes happening hundreds or even thousands of miles away. One such example was in 2012 when a 7.4 magnitude earthquake in Mexico caused the water levels in the pool to drop and then refill, a phenomenon known as a seiche. This sensitivity to distant seismic activity has led scientists to speculate that Devil's Hole is part of a vast, interconnected network of underground caves and water systems stretching far beyond Death Valley. The water in the cave seems to pulse with the earth itself, linking the cave to distant places in ways we still don't fully understand. Long before scientists began studying Devil's Hole, it was a place of spiritual significance for local Native American tribes. The Timbisha Shoshone people believed the cave was a sacred portal to the underworld. Legends say that spirits lived within its depths, and those who entered might never return. These stories are not entirely unfounded, as several explorers have lost their lives attempting to uncover the cave's secrets. In another part of the world, a site with a similar name, Devil's Lake in North Dakota, holds its own myth of a mysterious underwater spring known as Devil's Hole. While scientific exploration of this particular hole revealed a depth of only 63 to 73 feet, the eerie atmosphere and tales surrounding the spot continue to captivate those who live nearby. Over the years, explorers have tried mapping out the cave, but every dive just seemed to raise more questions than it answered. The dives around here have been seriously risky, with strong underwater currents, tight tunnels, and mind-blowing depths, making it a real challenge for anyone brave enough to explore. Paleoclimatologists from the University of Innsbruck have been studying these calcite deposits since 2010. Collecting and dating these minerals, they hope will help them uncover more information about historical climate patterns. Cinematographer Jonathan Bird, in 2017, joined an expedition to take water and core samples from the cave, producing footage that was featured in the 2020 documentary Ancient Caves. But despite all the advanced technology, resources, and years of research dedicated to unraveling the mysteries of the Devil's Hole, much about it still remains unknown. A large part of it still puzzles researchers to date: the cave's depth, its connection to other underground systems, and even the forces that shape its waters. Even in all this, adventurers and thrill-seekers still find it as one of the last frontiers on Earth, a place where the unknown still reigns, where legend and science collide. The Devil's Hole is now closely monitored by the National Park Service, and it's completely off-limits to the public. This is partly to protect the delicate ecosystem that keeps the pupfish alive, and partly because its depths are just too dangerous to explore. Only a handful of people, mainly scientists, are allowed into the site, and even they have to follow strict rules to keep the underwater ecosystem safe. Every piece of gear has to be disinfected and then left to air dry for a full 30 days before it's even allowed near the cave. It's all about making sure the environment stays as untouched as possible. Explorers are fascinated by Devil's Hole's appeal, but the dangerous depths reveal a deadly truth. What hidden dangers might be in the unexplored parts of Devil's Hole? Let's find out. The dangers of exploring Devil's Hole. Why drones are necessary. One of the earliest stories about the Devil's Hole comes from the indigenous tribes who lived around the lake over 200 years ago. They believed that an evil spirit lived within the deep waters, and according to legend, the daughter of the tribe's chief, Izone, and her lover, Indimane, tried to cross the lake but mysteriously vanished near what is now known as the Devil's Hole. The tribe's leader, Oroneka, waited for days along the lake's shore, hoping his daughter would return, but she never did. This awful event led the lake to be named Mikemanetu, meaning Lake of the Evil Spirit. There are other stories that came up too, claiming that the hole occasionally acted like a suckhole with the ability to swallow anyone who came too close. One of such stories is of a tribesman who was sucked into Devil's Hole only to reappear in a nearby lake. Such stories fed into the belief that Devil's Hole was bottomless, or at the very least, a very dangerous place that was best left alone. Curiosity about the depth and structure of Devil's Hole led to a formal investigation in 1959. On July 14th, two experienced divers, Mel Solderholm and Doug Brackman, embarked on a mission to uncover the truth about the legendary feature. Locals had assumed that the hole could be as deep as 300 feet, with some even claiming it might be bottomless. However, the divers were quick to put out these myths. As they dove into the murky depths, they found that Devil's Hole wasn't bottomless at all. Instead, it was a bowl-shaped dip with a silty floor. The shallow upper parts of the hole sat about 45 feet below the surface, while the deepest part of the spring reached 73 feet. Even with the challenging conditions, icy water, zero visibility, and swirling currents, the divers were able to map out the basic structure of the hole. Their findings didn't reveal anything supernatural, but the strange darkness and lifelessness in the hole only made it more mysterious. Devil's Hole is still considered one of the most dangerous places for dive explorations. Even after early and later explorations, it has been termed risky, after many experienced divers have lost their lives trying to navigate its underwater tunnels over the years. There are many dangers associated with exploring the Devil's Hole, but the greatest is getting disoriented. Its water, pitch black, tight tunnels, and strong currents can confuse even the most skilled divers. Divers can easily lose their sense of direction without being able to clearly see where they are, which often leads to panic and deadly mistakes. The increased state of fear in situations like these make their breathing faster, finishing their air supply faster than normal and increasing the risk of a fatal accident. Nitrogen narcosis is another major risk for divers in Devil's Hole. As they go deeper, the higher pressure will change the nitrogen levels in their blood, which messes with their thinking and reaction time. In situations like this, divers might end up swimming deeper into the cave instead of heading back up, which only puts them in more danger. If they rush to the surface or skip those crucial decompression stops as they were trained, they risk getting the bends, which is a dangerous condition where nitrogen bubbles form in the bloodstream. This can be life-threatening. With the small passages, silt, debris, and the high chance of getting lost, there's almost no room for mistakes in Devil's Hole. Many divers have been lost inside the lake, their stories becoming part of the sorry story surrounding this mysterious underwater cave. In recent years, researchers have turned to technology to explore Devil's Hole more safely. Human divers, though highly skilled and trained, are limited by the dangers present in this extreme environment. For this reason and more, the underwater drone was introduced, a high-tech device built to survive conditions too extreme for humans. Underwater drones don't suffer from tiredness, confusion, or the mental stress that comes with being in cramped, pitch-black environments like divers. They are fitted with high-definition cameras, sonar systems, and strong lights that will allow them to carry out explorations for long periods without any issue. They are also able to move through the cave's tight passages with great accuracy, all while sending live footage back to the researchers above. Drones have become a safe bet, especially in places like Devil's Hole, where it's just too risky or almost impossible for people to go. They make exploring these dangerous spots safer and a lot more thorough. A major breakthrough in underwater exploration happened when an advanced drone was used to map out parts of Devil's Hole that had never been seen before. The drone scouted areas too dangerous for human divers, producing detailed 3D maps of the cave's structure and revealing hidden tunnels that had stayed in darkness for centuries. Equipped with its high-definition cameras, the drone gave a clear view of the cave's unique geological formations, and its advanced measuring tools collected important environmental data, helping researchers better understand the cave's ecosystem. Tragedy in the depths, lost divers and legends. For years, Devil's Hole has been a mysterious pool of water in Death Valley National Park, and it holds more than just secrets about the Earth. Inside its depths, it tells stories of human dreams, tragedies, and the ongoing battle between people and nature. This quiet-looking water body, which is home to the rare Devil's Hole pupfish, has taken lives, confused rescuers, and led to the use of advanced technology to uncover its secrets. In 1965, two young divers, David Rose and John Phillipson, who were students from a California university, decided to explore Devil's Hole. Even though they were eager and skilled, they didn't fully grasp how tough it would be underwater. As they went deeper into the cold, dark water, things got much harder. They quickly lost sight, and the narrow, murky passages made it hard for them to find their way. As they went deeper, the pair soon became separated, which is a deadly mistake in the dangerous underwater area of Devil's Hole. Disoriented and running low on air, they struggled to find their way back to the top. Their separation was the beginning of a terrible mistake. When David Rose and John Phillipson didn't come back, search and rescue teams were quickly sent in. Unfortunately, the cave's tricky layout made it really hard to find them. After several days of searching, the mission was called off, and their bodies were never found. This incident made Devil's Hole one of the most dangerous underwater spots in the world. Over the years, the site has claimed several lives, adding to its grim reputation. The loss of these two divers brought about the need for better technology and safety measures for exploring such risky places. In that same fateful year, another tragedy happened at the Devil's Hole. A group of teenagers entered into the area without permission, lured by the mystery of the pool, entered the water. Two of them, David Rose, not the same as the earlier diver, and Paul Giantontieri, never came back up. This led to a major rescue operation with experienced divers searching the pool. Despite their efforts, including record-breaking dives, the teenagers' bodies were never found. Among the divers was Jim Houts, who dived to an unusual depth of 315 feet during the recovery operation. Houts found a dive chart and a fading flashlight, but no signs of life. The mysterious conditions of Devil's Hole had claimed yet more victims. Houts later recounted the difficulties of the dive, noting how the pool's jagged and sharp limestone walls could cause serious injury. The darkness and disorientation posed an ever-present danger, compounded by nitrogen narcosis, which affects judgment and reaction time at such depths. During the operation, Houts reached a depth of 325 feet, where the cave opened into a larger chamber. He believed the pool could extend to over 900 feet, with strong currents that made it difficult to measure its true depth. After all efforts, no bodies were recovered, leaving only guesses about the final resting place of the teenagers. The sad events involving Rose and Phillipson, along with other incidents, have had a big impact on Devil's Hole. However, these tragedies have also led to new ideas and safer ways to explore. Today, underwater drones are used to explore Devil's Hole, changing how scientists and researchers study dangerous underwater environments. While drones now probe the abyss, the echoes of past tragedies still resonate. What untold stories lie buried in the darkness, waiting to be discovered? Keep watching. The Drone's Descent, Unveiling Hidden Wonders. During one of the dives into Devil's Hole, everyone was excited as the underwater drone began its deep journey. Scientists and engineers were eager to see parts of the hole that no one had seen before. As the drone slowly sank into the dark water, it used high-definition cameras and bright lights to take amazing pictures and collect important information. It measured things like temperature changes and ground movements, helping the team get a clear look at the mysterious depths. At first, the drone was moving through parts of the cave that were already well known from earlier explorations. But as it went deeper, the cave started to change. The rough walls became smoother, as if water had slowly shaped them into beautiful flowing patterns over time. The drone's lights showed off these limestone formations, revealing a strange, haunting beauty that hinted at the powerful forces of nature that had formed this ancient underwater maze. The hidden cave was slowly starting to share its secrets. Not long after, the drone spotted the first sign of life. It was a tiny, ghostly white fish that flickered in and out of the shadows, barely noticeable. These were the famous Devil's Hole pupfish, one of the rarest fish on Earth, living in a place where most other creatures wouldn't survive. Measuring less than an inch long, these fish thrive in extremely hot water, around 92 degrees Fahrenheit, and in very low oxygen levels. For thousands of years, these pupfish have adapted to their tough environment. They live on a small, algae-covered ledge that's only 10 by 20 feet, yet they've managed to survive against all odds. But their numbers have been dropping fast. By 2013, there were only 35 pupfish left, which led to urgent efforts to save them. Scientists have done everything they can to protect this species, even creating artificial habitats that mimic the Devil's Hole. These efforts have helped stabilize their population a bit, but the pupfish are still critically endangered, barely surviving in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Back to the drone. As it ventured deeper, the cave's landscape grew even more unreal. The walls began to narrow, forcing the drone to carefully navigate through tight passageways. All of a sudden, the cave opened into a vast chamber known as Brown's Room, a hauntingly beautiful space discovered by a pioneering explorer. Huge icicle-like structures hung from the roof of the cave, and also hanging from the floor appeared, almost like a scene from Frozen. The water in this chamber was warmer, heated by geothermal activity far beneath the Earth's surface. The formations in Brown's Room seemed like they were from another planet, with twisted shapes that seemed almost unnatural, as though the forces of nature had unleashed their most creative designs. Inside the cave, things took a strange turn. The walls were covered with odd circular dips, like something had been drilled into the rock from the inside. The scientists watching the footage were fascinated because no one had ever seen such formations before. As the drone moved past Brown's Room, the cave became even more eerie. The passageways got narrower, and the walls seemed to close in on the drone, making it harder for the drone to move forward. At a depth no human had ever reached, the conditions started getting really strange. The drone's lights began to flicker, throwing creepy shadows on the cave walls. For a moment, everyone held their breath, worried that the drone might be broken. Thankfully, it was just a brief glitch, but it gave everyone a scare. The drone, now alone in the dark, was exploring parts of the cave that had never been seen before. As the drone went deeper, the cave got stranger. The walls sparkled with crystal formations that reflected the drone's light, making the place look almost alien. The water was unpredictable, changing from warm to freezing cold within just a few feet. It felt like the cave couldn't decide what it wanted to be. The drone's sensors also detected weird magnetic spikes and rhythmic vibrations that seemed to come from deep inside the Earth. These anomalies suggested that there were forces at play far beyond the understanding of the scientists on the surface. Unexplained phenomena, magnetic spikes and mysterious currents. As the drone continuing its journey to the eerie depths of Devil's Hole, it suddenly jolted. Like a leaf caught in a fierce invisible wave, the drone was swept into a bizarre magnetic field. At that moment, it encountered something strange, anomalous magnetic spikes that had never been recorded before. These magnetic surges, combined with unexplained underwater currents, marked one of the most puzzling discoveries in this mysterious cave system. Though the Devil's Hole has long been a point of intrigue, these sporadic magnetic fluctuations added an entirely new layer to the whole thing. Magnetic variations are often predictable in other geological formations, and the intensity and frequency of these spikes are confusing. Captured in real time by the drone's instruments, these readings offered an unprecedented glimpse into the cave's hidden forces. These spikes usually popped up alongside other weird stuff, like small earthquakes or sudden, powerful currents, showing they weren't just random blips. What makes Devil's Hole so unique is its location near where the Pacific and North American plates meet. This area is known for frequent earthquakes, which could explain some of the strange magnetic readings scientists have found. There are also mineral deposits, like magnetite, deep in the rock, which might contribute to these readings. But this theory doesn't fully explain everything. The magnetic surges are so unpredictable and strong that many people think there could be even more complex forces at play beneath the surface. As scientists looked more closely at the data, they came up with new ideas that made people both curious and worried. Could these strange readings be linked to hidden underground activities that no one has noticed for a long time? Some people even think that certain government authorities might know more than they are telling us. Even though there are many theories, the real answer is still unknown, and researchers haven't been able to find a clear cause. But Devil's Hole has even more mysteries beyond just magnetic spikes. There are also weird underwater currents that are so strong they can confuse anyone who gets caught in them. These currents don't follow usual patterns like changes in temperature or tides. They just seem to appear without any clear reason. Some people think they might be caused by shifts in the Earth's crust far below the surface, while others have more unusual theories. However, no one has been able to find a clear answer yet. It's even more puzzling that these underwater currents sometimes match up with distant earthquakes. This connection suggests that earthquakes might influence the cave's underwater environment. But just as often, the currents surge without any nearby quakes, leaving scientists confused. Could the cave's unusual shape, with its narrow passages and sudden drops, be making these forces stronger? Or is there something else happening? What makes Devil's Hole even more intriguing is the idea that it might be connected to a much larger network of underground water channels. If that's true, then the strange currents and magnetic spikes in the cave might be influenced by things happening far away. To uncover these mysteries, the drone team used a bunch of advanced tools. They set up magnetometers to track changes in the cave's magnetic field and used pressure sensors and flow meters to measure the odd currents. Although they gathered a lot of data, they still haven't found clear answers. Other scientists have also looked closely at the drone's findings. They have carefully examined the data, trying to understand the confusing patterns and spikes. As the drone's sensors detect bizarre magnetic anomalies, a greater mystery unfolds. Could Devil's Hole be more than just an isolated cave? Keep watching. Global connections, Devil's Hole's reaction to distant earthquakes. The Devil's Hole is tucked away in the Nevada desert, far from fault lines and earthquake areas. It's part of Death Valley National Park. This little cave has puzzled scientists because, even though it's far from the action, it reacts to distant earthquakes. Experts call these reactions desert tsunamis. They are small waves that ripple across the cave's surface, set off by tremors happening thousands of miles away. Devil's Hole is also sensitive to earthquakes. An example would be what happened back in April 2012. In Sumatra, Indonesia, an 8.6 magnitude earthquake hit almost 9,000 miles from Nevada. Minutes later, Devil's Hole went crazy, with waves reaching up to 4 feet high and crashing into the limestone walls. This nearly drained the shallow area where the rare pupfish live. But this isn't a one-time thing. Time and again, Devil's Hole has reacted to earthquakes from places as far away as Japan, Chile, and Alaska. It happens because the cave's unique geological setup makes it especially sensitive to these waves. When they pass through, the water starts sloshing around, like when you shake a bathtub and watch the ripples spread. That is exactly what happens in that cave. One of the many proposed theories is that Devil's Hole might be connected to a bigger network of underground water channels that transmit seismic energy that far. This hypothesis says that these subterranean waterways might amplify the effects of seismic waves, allowing tremors from thousands of miles away to create noticeable water movement in Devil's Hole. Other underground water systems, such as wells and springs, have shown similar reactions to distant earthquakes, though none as dramatically as Devil's Hole. Not all earthquakes trigger these desert tsunamis. Aquatic ecologist Kevin Wilson from the National Park Service explained that Devil's Hole is particularly sensitive to large quakes, especially those occurring along the Pacific Ocean's Ring of Fire, an area known for its intense seismic activity. Earthquakes with a magnitude of 7 or higher, especially those with significant depth, are the most likely to cause the water in Devil's Hole to react. For example, in 2022, a magnitude 7.6 earthquake in Mexico triggered 1.2-meter waves in Devil's Hole just 5 minutes after the quake hit, despite being 2,500 kilometers away. A few days later, a second, smaller earthquake happened near the same spot. It measured 6.8 in magnitude, but didn't cause any noticeable changes in the cave. The Devil's Hole seems to respond differently depending on how strong, where, and how deep the earthquake is. This makes it even more mysterious why some earthquakes create big waves while others don't have any effect at all. These desert tsunamis can be fascinating for scientists, but they pose a threat to the tiny Devil's Hole pupfish, the sole inhabitants of the cave. This critically endangered species, with fewer individuals remaining, relies on a shallow, sunlit shelf within the cave where algae grow. These algae are the pupfish's primary food source. When seismic waves hit, they mix up sediments and rocks and even wash away algae, temporarily messing with the pupfish's habitat. Luckily, the pupfish has survived these shakeups, and wildlife officials have their fingers crossed that they'll continue to bounce back. After the waves from the 2022 Mexico earthquake subsided, no dead fish were found. Still, each seismic event reminds researchers of the delicate balance within this isolated ecosystem and the potential risks posed by distant quakes. The mystery of why Devil's Hole reacts so strongly to distant earthquakes remains unsolved. One possibility is that the cave's narrow passageways and unique topography amplify the seismic waves that reach it. Another idea is that the cave is connected to a vast underground water network that stretches across the globe, carrying seismic energy between continents. If that's indeed the case, Devil's Hole will no longer just be some random geological spot. It will be part of a massive system of hidden water channels beneath the Earth. The idea of a worldwide underground water network, while it is still just a theory, is intriguing. So also is the possibility that there might be other places like Devil's Hole around the world, hidden caves or wells that similarly respond to seismic waves from faraway quakes. Some researchers have drawn comparisons to the cenotes of Mexico, a network of underwater caves known for their own strange hydrological behaviors. To get to the bottom of things, scientists have been putting all kinds of high-tech equipment inside Devil's Hole to understand what's really happening. They use tools like magnetometers and flow meters to track how the water moves and to catch any strange seismic activity. Every time there's a tremor, they collect more data, bit by bit, figuring out how seismic energy travels through the Earth and how it can cause such big reactions in Devil's Hole. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, leave nice comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more interesting content. Check out another interesting video by clicking on the video appearing on your screen right now.